But when you have utilities underground and you start replacing them completely to improve the situation out there, you run into conflicts. And not that Vestavia city government would have little kingdoms within it. Most bureaucracies have little kingdoms within them. And Rayner is getting a great experience of managing various kingdoms and silos, and the first answer out of anybody's mouth is no. And I used to tease him pretty hard about his lack of a poker face, but he's learning to have a poker face, and that Crosshaven's teaching him a valuable lesson. I'm sure you're aware that there's the likelihood, actually the exact likelihood, that that street's going to be shut down for a period of time. Right now we're trying to manage it down to about a 2-week duration. If it goes to rain in the middle of that 2 weeks, it might be longer, but we're going to do everything we can to manage that piece. We still need some decisions from some of the powers that be, not the city, but within the county and the utilities that we've got to manage our way through. But primarily you see work going on the east side, and virtually nothing going on the west side. Once we ran into some conflicts, rather than just shut the thing down, we said, how do we manage around it? Let's go down the east side where we don't have conflicts and see if we can get it 100% done. And maybe by the time we get there, we'll have wandered our way through the conflicts on the other side, so we'll go down that side. But it's a congested street, and you wouldn't be having this conversation if you didn't know you had a problem out there, and ultimately the problem's going to be resolved. It's just one of those things that I'm sure is high on your voters' minds, and anybody that travels that road has some legitimate concerns, but progress is hell sometimes.
I would like to just elaborate on one of the things you said, just to make sure the council's aware. The biggest, most problematic portion of this project is going to be shaving down the hill right in front of Cahaba Heights Baptist Church in the cemetery. If you come from Overton, there is a steep hill that is unsafe, and it's going to have to be shaved down to be able to make the project work. That is the 2-week project that he's referencing.
Deals with the sight lines. As you come, you lose sight of the oncoming traffic from either direction, and it's just not a safe condition. So it's got to be lowered. And
So is that going to only close the portion of the street that goes in front of the church around that area?
well, it is going to close the street in front of the church, and so you'll have detours around, but you will not be able to go past the church, right?
Just in front of the church, not the other businesses.
I think Rayner ought to speak, because Rayner has been the great diplomat with many of the businesses over there. He goes and visits them every day, from Blue Willow to Pita Stop to poor old Zaxby's. The Zaxby's folks.
I don't get discounts on the site, let me just say that. It's much more than a safety issue cutting down that hillside. It's also about water management. If you go talk to anyone within the church, that hill creates stormwater problems that go each direction to neighborhoods and into the church. If we don't cut that hillside down, then all of our curb and gutter work is all for naught, because the water's still gonna pile up and go over it. Basically, from essentially the Winn-Dixie further north is going to be local traffic only. You're going to be able to get down that road, but once you get to the church, you're going to have to turn around and come back out. And what we're shooting for right now, as Ken was talking about water, is we're starting to get word out to the community that middle of March is what we're planning to have this shut down. But the answer there is that if we see 2 to 3 weeks of hard rain coming, we're gonna jog that a little bit so we can try to minimize the impact. We're currently working on 2 large message boards that go up on Overton Road on each direction, so that any daily commuter that comes by that we have the ability to change that message daily to say, beware construction ahead, but then also we can put signs up at the click of a button that say Crosshaven Drive will be shut down on this date to this date. Please make alternative arrangements. Cinnamon is, I get messages to her far too late sometimes, but Cinnamon works to get the messages out as quick as possible. And it's just going to be a large communication effort out of everybody when we get to this point. It is, unfortunately, about the only way to do it.
We were eating lunch today before we came over here, and Rainer's phone rang, and he looked at it and he said, Crosshaven. And
Is that a cuss word?
a vendor, a business on there, wanted to know why he had gotten his first water bill since the water has now been hooked up, and his water bill was $17,000. We don't know the answer to it yet, but when we get through with here, Rainer will go right to work to sort it out. I don't know whether it has to do with impact fees. Who knows what it has to do with? But you're going to get some calls like that through this period, and just refer them to Rainer, and he'll look at it and say Crosshaven.
That'll ruin our lunch.
Sir?
That'll ruin your lunch.
Yeah, he was not a happy camper.
I bet.
But, you know, that's just part of it. Things happen. And how you respond to your public, just as y'all know, is the key. And we're trying to do everything we can to keep them from having to call y'all.
And is there any ALDOT input on that grade of that hill? I mean, would they solidly be behind that?
I'm not sure it's an ALDOT covered road, but I know that the Gonzalez Strength engineering documents worked with Jefferson County on theirs, and worked with Christopher on it, and this was the solution. So it's not an ALDOT road. Yeah, so it's all local funds.
County, yeah.
So we might not have even broke ground if it was an ALDOT project yet.
That's true.
For sure.
When it closes, Cinnamon, if you could say this is a message from the county.
Yeah. Tell them to call Steve Ammons.
Well, Cinnamon, I just put Rainer's phone number on the sign.
Well, Rainer, our city engineer, is just happy that y'all are running this project and not the city.
We are too. We are too. We appreciate it. You know, that's one of the things that makes our business fun, is that never a day goes by that something like this doesn't come up with. You find out what makes people's buttons, pushes their button, and every day it's a different button. And so it's a learning experience, and we appreciate y'all's patience. But it was originally about a year project, and with the conflicts that still exist with some of the utilities and the way we're having to adjust to keep it going, it could easily take longer than a year. But the contractor has every incentive to finish as soon as he can. So it's not the contractor dragging his feet; it's just the bureaucracy.
Chick-fil-A are going to announce they're coming to Cahaba Heights, kind of set a date. The road expansion that they need, is that going to be on schedule? I'm sure they're going to time their building with that road expansion.
George, let me jump in on this one.
Please.
Because Chick-fil-A corporate calls me regularly, and I bring Christopher and Rainer in, and they bring in Gonzalez Strength, and we coordinate. And they were originally scheduled because they're predicting their construction time, which is about 4 months. And so they're trying to pick when do they start. And they were going to start in March, but now based on this, they're going to start in April. And so they're going to their target from our conversation was to open up in September.
So if you drive down there and you see a storage yard, all the pipes and everything, that's on the Chick-fil-A property. So you can identify it from there, and we got to get all that off and find a happy neighbor that'll let us put it in their yard for a while.
Good.
Yeah, right. So anyway, that's the Crosshaven. I'm sorry I forgot it, Jeff. Yes, ma'am.
We were originally thinking August, right, for Crosshavens, and now we're thinking, I mean, not too much from that.
Oh,
But we're not done yet.
I don't have an answer for you today, Ms. Cook.
No more promises?
No, well, I have a sign in my office that says you deal with bureaucracy with all the decorum that you can, a tolerance for stupidity, and a bulldozer when necessary. Well, right now, we're still in that first phase.
Tolerance when necessary.
And so, once the utility issues and the conflicts between the utility providers are resolved, then we can give you a better answer, but it would just be simply a guess at this point right now. But you're right, originally August, early September was the completion date.
The Farmer's Almanac is not going to help in this case.
You know, if we could all get everybody reading off the same page of music, yes, ma'am, it could, but not right now. Anything else?
Okay. Thank you, Ken.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. Call me if you need anything.
Call Rayner.
Call Rayner.
Oh, Rayner.
1-800-RAYNER.
For the record, Rayner hasn't left yet.
Y'all are welcome to call him, but he knows my management style is no surprises. So if you call him, he's calling me.
All right, thank you. Brian, do you want to get up and finish your